These elite security forces use the best weaponry and employ the most effective tactics that money can buy. If you've got the cash, well, they've got the firepower. So join us for today's video as we take a look at the 15 biggest private security forces in the world. Number 15. Academy. Formerly known as Blackwater USA, Academy is an American private military company established in 1997. Academy's founder is an ex-United States Navy SEAL, Erik Prince. And with credentials like that, you know you'll get your money's worth. Prince, at the time of its founding, stated, "We're trying to do for the national security apparatus what FedEx did for the Postal Service." That's quite the commitment. The former Blackwater was given its first military contract back in 2000 during the war in the Middle East. And it was a pretty big order. They weren't bringing in a team of 10 like some video game. Nope, they needed 100,000 sailors to be trained specifically for the action that was ahead of them. They were heavily involved during the Iraq War, which of course garnered a great deal of controversy. It got to the point where Erik Prince stepped down in 2009, and his company was rebranded as Academy in 2011, when new investors entered the fray. Today, Academy works on the federal, state, and local government level, as well as with law enforcement and intelligence organizations all over the world. Number 14. ICTS International. ICTS International is a somewhat unlikely partnership. Security personnel from the tightly run El Al Israel Airlines teamed up with a former Israel security agency to form the Israeli private security company in 1982. They are mostly security experts, government intelligence veterans, and former military commanding officers. Despite being founded in Israel, the heads of the company reside in Amstelveen in the Netherlands. ICTS International claims to provide its services with an emphasis on aviation and homeland security sectors, transportation including railroads and transport. It may be quite a mouthful, but it's obvious that the security company will assemble a force that's ready to go anytime, anywhere. Their specialty is definitely aviary security. They can get VIPs and heads of state on their private jets quickly, quietly, and without drawing too much attention to the client. But if things do get hot, then they're ready to go. By the 1990s, the team at ICTS International created a computer technology called Advanced Passenger Screening, which is used by most major United States airlines today. The program uses an algorithm to run a background check and see which passengers, if any, could pose a potential threat. ICTS International wants to stop aviation attacks before they happen. But how big is the company? Well, as of 2008, ICTS International's total revenue was just under $100 million, which they use to purchase, upgrade, and develop all sorts of high-tech gadgets and software. Number 13. Northbridge Services Group. Registered in the Dominican Republic, but operating mostly out of offices in Kentucky, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom, Northbridge Services Group is a very popular private military contractor. They provide plenty of highly confidential and effective security-related services to anyone with a big wallet and a good track record. They do a lot of work with governments, multinational corporations, non-government organizations, the corporate sector, and even individuals. The CEO and president of Northbridge Services Group is Robert Kovacik, a former United States Army lieutenant colonel and Vietnam veteran. He's been working with the group since 2003, and it's safe to say that he thrives in high-stress and high-stakes situations. And while Kovacik has seen plenty of action in his military career, the security force provides key services like security advisory and training, operational and intelligence support, and strategic communications. So if you're looking to keep things secure and protected, he's your guy. But they'll also support local law enforcement agencies when they need a little extra professional help with terrorism, organized crime, smuggling, maritime defense, narcotics, protection of natural resources, and even poaching. By 2012, the group had accumulated $50 million in revenue. Their biggest claim to fame, though, is when in 2003 they offered to capture the Liberian president Charles Taylor for a $4 million fee after he was convicted of war crimes. It looks like they can add bounty hunting to their list of very specific skills. Number 12. Triple Canopy. Risk management is a bit of an umbrella term that can mean a few different things. But with Triple Canopy, they funnel risk management into private security and defense contracting. They're based out of Virginia and established in 2003. The firm was created by a group of former United States Special Forces soldiers, and all of their employees are either ex-Special Forces or police officers. On top of providing high-paying clients with mission support and security, they also provide top-of-the-line training services to government agencies and multinational corporations all over the world. Because who better to train your security teams than the former Green Berets who have probably seen it all? They have a wide array of clients ranging from NGOs to telecommunication companies, oil and gas, mining firms, and financial organizations. Triple Canopy has a pretty big staff of 5,500 employees who have had the best training, and when it comes down to it, the right stuff. And if you want to work for them in a security position, they only take those with experience in military operations, military police, and emergency medicine. You've got to be good because their chain of command includes Delta Force officers. Triple Canopy played a prominent role in the Iraq War as well, and one of their contracts was valued at a whopping $1.5 billion. Must have been important. Number 11. Prosegur. Moving over to Spain, Prosegur is a private security company with over 15,000 well-trained staff spread out across Asia, Oceania, Latin America, and of course Europe. Since it was established back in 1976, it's become one of Spain's leading security contractors. And while the teams over at Prosegur may not have boots on the ground in highly contested areas of the world, they are still specialists in what they do nonetheless. The company offers services for manned guarding, home security, fire defense, and security technology and consulting. The company became so big that in 1981 it was listed on the Madrid Stock Exchange, and in 2011 Prosegur's revenue reached almost $234 million. Typically, the citizens of Spain's capital, Madrid, will find Prosegur's armored vans transporting plenty of cash around the city, which it then outsources to banks all over the world. In total, the security firm has close to 5,000 armored vans taking to the streets at any given time, and no one is going to mess with them. They offer superior technology services as well, such as CCTV monitoring, access control, and anti-intrusion and perimeter detection. And their guarding services are more than just a guy in a suit with a walkie-talkie at the front desk. They provide both unarmed and armed guards as well as canine units and even VIP protection. Best to be on their good side. Number 10. GK Sierra. Based out of Washington, D.C. and Portland, Oregon, GK Sierra is a top-notch private security force that started out by producing secure information technologies for the United States government. But after just 2 years, GK Sierra started offering investigation and intelligence services as well. Today, they're gathering a wealth of intelligence for the CIA and have expanded into Tel Aviv offices. Allegedly, they hire high-ranking Mossad operatives. Anyone who knows Mossad will know that they're working with cutting-edge technology and software to combat new types of threats. And so GK Sierra is absolutely reaping the benefits, which makes them one of the more trusted cybersecurity firms out there. They can be employed to execute corporate investigations and intelligence, digital forensics, and encryption technology. But they've also got direct action operatives on the ground in all countries all over the world, so they know how to handle themselves the old-fashioned way too. If you need to dig up some dirt or find out who's been stealing millions from your multinational corporation, GK Sierra will gladly air out the laundry for you, as long as you've got your checkbook handy. Number 9. KBR. Based out of Houston, Texas, KBR is a private military engineering and construction firm. The firm was founded back in 1998, and its formation is a bit complicated, but already existing companies were subsumed and amalgamated to create what it is today. KBR has taken contracts all over the world, including countries like Cuba, Kosovo, and Afghanistan. They're not afraid to get their hands a little dirty and play some sort of role, be it big or small, in contested areas. Today, KBR has an American workforce of about 14,000 in Iraq, with supposedly the biggest contract from the United States government in the area. They somehow managed to beat out all other companies that were bidding to work in Iraq. The private security firm became so lucrative that in 2008 they bought out Alabama-based BE&K, another engineering company, for over $500 million. Then, just 3 years later, in 2011, KBR was able to earn an additional $540 million, which no doubt allowed them to break even after the acquisitions. They have close to 30,000 employees in over 70 countries across Europe, Asia, Australia, the Americas, and the Middle East. The firm even goes as far back as the Johnson administration, who gave them plenty of government contracts in exchange for funding both his campaigns and him directly. And when they're not working on the ground in engineering, KBR is working in aerospace, industrial intelligence, and of course, defense. Number 8. Andrews International. Andrews International is a private security firm formed in Los Angeles, California in 1988 and has offices all over America, including branches in Mexico, Honduras, and Colombia. They even have operations in Canada and India. So what then does Andrews International do? Well, they provide both unarmed and armed security forces for major businesses, as well as offer specialist government and Defense Department solutions. The private firm did so well since its onset that in 2009 they were able to buy the Canadian global security firm GardaWorld, which offered services in the US and Mexico for over $44 million. Andrews International prides itself in being a professional provider of a comprehensive range of superior security and risk mitigation services. They can even be contracted to protect national landmarks, major tourist attractions, industrial sites, financial institutions, healthcare facilities, and even schools. But what they're really trying to say is, if you have something, we'll protect it. But they specialize in high security stakes, high client expectations, and even higher bills. And governments around the world are the ones who typically foot that bill. Number 7. Asia Security Group. This next group really stands out because they're a private security firm with a LinkedIn presence. Maybe you can check to see if they're hiring, but we're sure that the qualifications to get even an interview at the Asia Security Group are tough to meet. The Asia Security Group is a bit mysterious, but the Afghanistan-based private security company employs a team of licensed armed troops. Information surrounding them may be cryptic, but it doesn't take a big brain to decipher the fact that they're an armed security group. The firm has branches in Kabul, Mazar-e-Sharif, Jalalabad, and Kandahar, and they promise to provide their clients with comprehensive security solutions tailored to the needs of the business, while mitigating risks for both government and corporate clients. The Asia Security Group, though, has worked with the U.S. forces in Afghanistan, guarding supply convoys in the country's highly contested areas. Their personnel have also recently teamed up with DynCorp, another private military firm based in the United States working in security, risk assessment and management, and business development. Number 6. Unity Resources Group. The United States and Middle Eastern countries aren't the only ones to get in on the private security action. Unity Resources Group is an Australian firm founded in the year 2000. And while most of the company's personnel are from Australia or from New Zealand, the company's headquarters are in Dubai. Unity Resources Group offers services in land, sea, and air in complex and fragile environments where dependable infrastructure isn't always present. So it may make sense then that the private firm operates out of Dubai. The city itself may be bustling and full of massive amounts of wealth, but once you leave its confines, you'll see that not much attention has been paid to the surrounding areas. The firm has 1,200 employees and has offices in Europe, Africa, the Americas, the Middle East, Central Asia, and its home country of Australia. So clearly they keep themselves pretty busy. They specialize in asset security and guarding, all in very high-risk areas, which probably explains the locations of their offices. Unity Resource Group managed to land themselves in a bit of hot water in 2007 when they were involved in an unfortunate accident in Baghdad that ended with the death of 2 civilians. Surprisingly, or maybe even unsurprisingly, the firm condoned and defended their employees' actions, saying that it can often come with the territory. Number 5. Sanaka Group. The Sanaka Group is another private security firm with an incredibly wide reach. The firm is based in Ireland, but they also have Sanaka EW and Sanaka Canada, all of which conduct their operations all over the world. And there are the group's subdivisions like Sanaka Guarding, Sanaka Cash Management Services, Sanaka Training, Sanaka Tech, and even Integrated Risk Management. They will literally do it all. They'll happily work with governments, but will branch out into oil and gas, transport and logistics, financial, tourism, government, health, property, maritime, energy, NGO, and police forces. If there was a Swiss Army knife of private security forces, this would be it. And just be thankful that they're working with the good guys. But their company that runs the Integrated Risk Management Services offers unarmed and armed guards, patrols, corporate security, alarm responses, and key holding, making them your own little private police force. That is, if you can afford them, because cheap they are not. The group was co-founded by Major Jim Farrell of the Irish Army Special Forces and security veteran Terry Downs back in 2009. It's a young company, but they built it off of their risk management company, and who knows what subsidiary they'll add next. Number 4. GardaWorld. The Canadian firm aptly named GardaWorld is the biggest privately owned security company in the world. Headquartered in Montreal, Quebec, the firm employs 45,000 people across North America, Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. They've managed to secure individuals and resources in 140 cities worldwide and protect 28 North American airports. So it's likely that you've walked by one after heading through the TSA and didn't even know it. GardaWorld's International Protective Services Department manages the safety of their clients in complex and emerging markets, so whatever the challenge, they're up for it as they quickly adapt to the ever-changing world. GardaWorld also has its cash management division, which processes $5 billion a day. The company is so lucrative that in 2012 they were able to acquire a well-known private security firm's cash management division in a $110 million deal. And the next year they made another cash management deal with Bank of America, valued at a whopping $1.4 billion. When they're not keeping cash safe, the Canadian firm is protecting U.S. government officials and training security and handling crisis response. GardaWorld's quarterly revenue at the end of April 2012 came out to $300 million. Looks like they can handle their own money just as well too. Number 3. Control Risks. Control Risks is based in London and has 36 offices around the world. The firm practices international professional services and consulting for organizations that manage political and security risks in hostile environments. The company began as a division of an insurance firm in 1975, but by 1982 it was an independent entity. By the time the 90s rolled around, major companies in control risks were working in lesser-known areas, but they chose to focus on and develop intelligence and investigation services. They provide their high-end clients with strategic consulting and analysis surrounding sensitive political issues while providing ground protection and support. So Control Risks will get their hands dirty for you and keep your secrets too. The firm played a role in the Iraq War to secure multiple oil company assets, and those contracts brought them in $223 million in revenue in 2010 alone. Control Risks operates in over 150 countries and also has a hand in cyber, maritime, and travel security for individuals. But to be hired by an elite firm, you've got to have the proper military, police officer, or intelligence experience. An entry-level job this is not. Number 2. G4S. Not only does it have a cool name, but G4S was founded at the turn of the century in 1901 in Denmark. Today, the firm has operations all over the globe in over 100 countries. Their global workforce is staggering, with more than 620,000 employees. What sets G4S apart is that they'll go anywhere many governments can't or won't get their hands dirty for them to maintain order. That includes oil fields in the Middle East and Africa and nuclear facilities in the United States. G4S is the third largest private sector employer in the world and commands a force 3 times the size of the British military. The firm describes itself as a global security and outsourcing group specializing in the sectors where security and safety risks are considered a strategic threat. In 2004, G4S was acquired and essentially absorbed by the London-based Securicor, which is probably how it's able to handle so many employees. Back in 2012, the firm had a pretty good year, having brought in over $12 billion in revenue. That's billions with a B. G4S handles services like supplying security personnel, monitoring equipment, response units, and even secure prisoner transportation. So who knows what kind of high-security prisoners they've handled in the last 100 years of operations. Number 1. Pinkerton Government Services. Not to be confused with the Weezer album of the same name, Pinkerton Government Services go back a long way, and we mean a really long way. It started back in the year 1850 when the detective and spy Allan Pinkerton founded the Pinkerton National Detective Agency in Chicago. Cut to 2 centuries later, and the private firm offers a full range of protective services designed to meet the incredibly specific requirements of the United States government. Pinkerton provides typical services like armed and unarmed guards, but also firefighting, emergency technicians, and bomb and drug-sniffing dogs. Pinkerton was acquired in 2003 by the Swedish security firm Securitas AB and changed its name to Securitas Critical Infrastructure. But the original Pinkerton firm sounds like it was ripped straight from a movie because they were tasked with catching the likes of Jesse James and Butch Cassidy. They've been mentioned on television shows and even worked with Abraham Lincoln one time. History is still unfolding, but Pinkerton Government Services will likely go down as one of the greatest and maybe even the coolest private security firms of all time. Watch our Obscure playlist for more top 15 videos about the more obscure subjects in our world. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best and most obscure videos.